All right, a couple things just to start. What a great time it is for women's basketball as a sport. So kudos to y'all who in this room have contributed to it. A lot of people before us, and now it's in our hands. So hopefully, I think you'll really enjoy this season. The health of the women's game as a league as a whole is really strong again. So that. Secondly, what do you guys think of that in there? It's nice, huh? Magic happens in there. Really grateful to the administration for giving us a place to have more access to hoops, and that's been a really good part of our program. And lastly, I know everybody knows this, but less than 2 weeks ago, we lost a member of our community in Tylee Kraft. And please remember, he's a classmate of some of our players and a friend of some of our players. So, and of course, Mac's a very dear friend of mine. So. Just want to continue to give a heartfelt love for the people that are working through some really hard stuff that has happened on our campus. Anyway, I always want to talk about what y'all want to hear about. I could talk for days about the sport and our team, but I'd rather take questions that are relevant to what y'all are trying to write.
Coach, you guys were so banged up toward the end of last season. Is there anything different that you have done in the preseason this year to sort of guard against that happening again?
Yeah, we don't ride scooters anymore. We're done with those, so you won't see those anymore. We've got a great sport performance team, and unfortunately, a handful of those injuries were coming back from high school injuries that we had to kind of work through, and then some bad luck. I think the fact that we were able to play, we got down to 4 guards and or 3 guards, and they could play 40 minutes a game. But yeah, we're glad to have that behind us.
Heard Alyssa was talking about her three-point shot.
Yeah.
She's worked on that. What have you kind of seen from her evolution of her game?
I think year by year, the layers of Alyssa's game have been on full display. She's gotten better and better incrementally. Coming from a non-top 100 player to, we've already had WNBA teams in here watching her, right? So that's, to go into being a pro is pretty remarkable in her career. And the last stage of her development is the three-point shot. And so, starting from the first day we were allowed to get in the gym, that's all we did. She didn't work with anybody else. She didn't, work on her passing or her ball handling or her, mid-range. Or all we did was we broke her shot down from her feet to her hands to her release. And she's like typical Alyssa fashion. She's put the time in. That kid has put in thousands of hours and knows that that's an important part of her game. And she's looking forward to using it, which will help our team play with better spacing.
I asked Maria if she needs to stay out of foul trouble. She smiled and went into a long verbiage about that. Just, you guys aren't very deep on the bigs. I mean, how will that play out this season?
Yeah, Maria has just made major improvements from a year ago, and then Blanca is more than serviceable. That's a borderline McDonald's All-American kid who's about 6'6", and has gotten better and better. She guards Maria every day. And then, of course, with Sierra and Alyssa, and we've even got Layla there. I don't feel like we're super thin, especially what we dealt with last year there. But Maria's she's a 4-year kid who's been an all-league player. So her staying out of foul trouble means we can play her more. But I like what we have around her, too.
When the opener comes up, Sierra will play for first time in almost 600 days. How does she handle all from last year in recovery? And what did you see from her game compared to what you saw as a high school player?
She's just so much stronger now. So what she wasn't able to do when she was injured was a lot of the contact, and what she was able to do is work on her body. So she's much stronger and more agile. And she's got she's obviously been skilled for quite a while. And the big thing is she's guarding Alyssa Usby every day. How these quarterbacks buy their offensive linemen like Rolex watches and cars. I told her she should buy her dinner every night because Alyssa's gotten her a lot better. Imagine dealing with Alyssa on both ends every single day. So I think that's helped too with her speed and her reaction and her just anticipation. But also, Sierra's coming off of, like you said, 600 days, right? And she's also, a top 5 player coming out of high school. So we are going to ensure that her journey is one of great success, and you got to hit some singles before you hit home runs. So we're going to hit some singles with her to start.
Have you had a player as skilled as Sierra inside and out? And how much does her versatility kind of unlock things for you offensively?
It's a good question. It's hard for me to compare, Mitch, some of the guys. It's hard because I'm trying to, in my head, remember who we've had. So I'm so kind of present focused. But she's really skilled, and what she does is allow us to stretch. She's a great passer. She's a great shooter. She can play inside. We really worked hard on that part of her game. So yeah, she just gives you a true 3-level scorer that can pass and along with it. And she's big. I mean, she's hard to move, right? So it just everything creates more space for our team, which lets us play out of closeouts and better ball movement, which makes everybody better.
Coach, how do you feel like Sierra handled her injury in the way that she maybe grew mentally and emotionally off the court during that time?
Yeah, Sierra is so special because I don't think I would have handled it as well, right? I think falling off your scooter and having that is on top of coming off an ACL, like that's just really unfortunate. She has 2 of the best parents that you'll ever find in terms of they have this star that just treats her like she's their kid, right? And it's funny when she was really in it with her injury, her mom said, if it doesn't work out, you can always play on the golf team. 'Cause I don't know if you guys know, she's a scratch golfer. And I said, whoa, we're not doing that. But yeah, just, I think she comes at it pretty balanced, small town kid from Scranton, PA, and really has bought into the journey here. And she knows that we're not hitting home runs. We are not hitting a home run right away. Our job is to get her really, really good game by game, year by year. And so I know that, I've been waiting a long time too, but I've got to be disciplined with that as well.
How important was it also for her and Layla to go through that process
Together, yeah, and they're such good friends. It really worked out. I mean, now with how they're playing, it's such a bummer we didn't have them. They were a big loss last year for us. But yeah, you're not dealing in isolation with something so significant. It certainly was helpful to not do that alone.
So what happened with the scooter, and when did that happen?
She literally fell off her scooter the day of the late night game. And so the men's basketball coaches were out for a walk and found her, right? And that was a very significant injury that required a ton of surgery and required her to, redshirt the year. So we don't ride. As I tell them, you guys, scooters are made for people that are my size, right? They don't understand that they are so much bigger than the average scooter driver. So we just don't ride those anymore. We're more into the e-bike thing.
That was her knee?
No, that was a wrist.
That was her wrist.
Mm-hmm.
Courtney, minutes seem to be up for grabs this year. You have a new look backcourt. Talk about the diverse skill set that each new player brings.
Yeah, that's a great point. It's totally different. I don't know it's almost I don't know who's starting. I don't know how the minutes are going to shake out because we have so many options in such a good way. We have a lot of guys that can shoot it. We have a lot of guys that can handle and facilitate. We have a lot of guys that are two-way players. And so regardless of age, they've been going really hard since June, and they've really shown a very unique skill sets to one another. I mean, it'll be fun. I don't know. We're going to kind of see together how it all plays out in the first few games to figure out what that kind of rotation will look like. But they're all a little bit different in a really good way. But they all offer a lot to what we do.
How do you see Renaya's role developing now she's in her second year?
Renaya was playing great before she got hurt, and so it's been awesome to have her back and her getting to watch for a while. She actually has learned a lot. Like I'd be a better player now too after I've coached for so long. So she'll be very key to what we do, and she'll have help. So she won't have to, no one should have to manage 35 plus minutes a game, right? And that will help as well. But she's a tough bully, floor general that defends and guards the ball and. And she loves to think the game, right? And you need that. Grace is the fastest kid in sneakers. I mean, she wins the sprints. She won the mile. I mean, she's faster than Alyssa, which is hard to believe. And so she plays the position really differently. And to be able to they can play together. They can share time. You got people that play it very differently. I think will help too.
Courtney, to go off that with Renaya, what do you kind of see her role being, I guess, in the dynamic of this year's team? Like last year, to start the year, she was a starter, and then, toward the end before she got hurt. I guess kind of the way her skill set is, just where you kind of see it fitting.
We need her when she's running the point, then she needs to ensure that our possessions are quality, right? We sort of lean on whoever is in that spot to ensure there's not wasted possessions, and we've defined kind of what that looks like. I think that we all in life are better when there's competition, right? It's just like we all are more disciplined, we're all more consistent, and so now she's got a lot of help around her, right? She's got a lot of people who can play that spot well, right? And so that allows for her to be more effective because it's, she can, if she doesn't make changes and doesn't do well, then somebody else will, right? So I think her role will be critical. I mean, she's got experience in our program. I trust her, and she's one of our really featured players.
Courtney, a lot of the players described the offense this year as potentially free-flowing. What have you seen in your early, thoughts about that, and what you've seen in particular, losing a starter who, with over 500 shots last year?
Yeah. When we've been, it's funny because we've been really good defensively here, and I've got a lot of friends in the business, and they're all just like, it's almost comical that a Courtney Banghart team is talking about defense, right? Because I've always preferred offense, right? And for us now, we just have, offense is a balance of control and freedom, right? So, that's what we were just showing film. It's not like do what you want. That's called pickup, which is also incredibly fun, right? But it's a balance and freedom. It's a balance between control and freedom and reads that we need to make based on where the ball is and what our skill sets are. And they're learning that, and I think they're really enjoying learning that because there's a lot of options. It doesn't mean they do whatever. It just means they have way more options, right? Whereas last year I had to really manage the game through sets and play calls to get certain people the ball in their certain particular skill set, right? And as skill has increased and as we have more versatile skill sets, we now can play with more freedom or decisions to make in lifetime. And we always talk about making good decisions in lifetime.
You went out and added 3 new faces to your coaching staff this offseason. What drove you to do that and hire these new people?
Yeah, gosh, we've really nailed it in terms of having Corey's passion. He's been an associate head coach. He's been in the game a long time. Does a great work with guards. He's a good development coach, and he's just so passionate. And I've known him a long time. Back when he was at Virginia. And then Kat, I've known forever too. She was she's been a head coach, and I think there's value to having someone who's, she's doing the scout right now, and I'm not there, right? I think it's representing the scout. So to have someone with so much experience and who's been hasn't had the opportunity to be in an environment like this with so much help around her, that's been really great. Who was the third?
It is Shelley Greenman.
Oh, our director of ops. Yeah. Our director of ops, man, it's a hard life. We don't have any days off in this business, and so I've known her too back when she was an assistant coach, actually. So I've known her since she was coaching at Virginia Tech, and she was on the on the Clemson staff, and so knew she was available, and has coaching experience, but more importantly has a lot of experience in our business. So they just kind of people who exit, whether it's theirs or mine, it's decisions that they make based on a variety of factors, right? But who we've added are perfect, just like our transfers.
The players said they're kind of flying under the radar, and they're fine with that. But they also said that they'll surprise some people. What do you think of that?
I don't know. I think the radar has us basically somewhere in the top 15. I think it's kids being kids, really thinking that before they've done anything, that, hey, what about us? It's like, you're 0-0. You haven't won a game yet. Let's talk about that later, right? So I think some of them are probably thinking they're under the radar, thinking they should be what, top 10? I don't know. And some are probably like, what is the radar, right? So how I feel about it is that we're 0-0. I think I really like our team. They're joyful, they're humble, they're really hardworking, they're very connected. And I like that we have a lot of options. We're healthy. In terms of how everybody else is, we have to wait and see. I don't know what everybody else's team is, who they have yet.
How cool is it to be going to the Bahamas for the first time and playing in the Battle for Atlantis?
Yeah, great to be included. It's obviously it's not an event you can just ask to be a part of. So that's super exciting. And 3 games in 3 days, you got to be deep. So I like that. It's a better year for us to do that. It's hard because it's one of those tournaments where if you win, you play them, and if you lose, you play them, and then if they win, they win. So 6 scouts in 3 days for me. I don't think I'll be enjoying Bahamas too much. But I'm really just glad to be a part of a field like that, and you come off of the UConn game, and then you get to play that, and then you come back and play Kentucky. These guys will find out what their radar is when they start playing these guys.
Do the starting decisions come down to which to play with Lexi, Maria, and Alyssa?
Not necessarily, no. We got a lot of good guard play now. I think Alyssa and Maria, they certainly have earned so much experience. Lexi's got a ton of experience, but who plays well together? What combinations work off the bench versus long range shooting, and you put facilitators with shooters, and no, it really you'll be a different. We started one group against Charlotte. We'll play a different group against Tennessee. No, don't know yet.
Just speaking generally, because I don't know that you can talk about this particular recruit, so generally, bringing in a freshman early at the beginning of the spring semester, have you ever done that, and what's your philosophy on that?
We had a mid-year transfer in Ariel Young my first year, and what was great, her same deal. She didn't want to, she didn't want to waste the year, but wanted to get ready, right? And so the value of having someone come mid-year is that they're learning the strength, they're learning the language, they're learning how to travel, they understand the class situation, they get the grind, they're in the weight room, they're conditioning, they're, so where it works with your academic schedule, they do it in all other sports all the time, right? Would I give up my senior spring in high school? No. But I wasn't also a recruit at the University of North Carolina, right? And so it's not common because you're giving up a year of your spring of your senior year in high school. But for those that it makes sense for, because maybe they're new to that school, or maybe we're certainly, it does give them a little bit of an onboard.
The decisions that you're going to have to make in terms of minutes and who starts in the backcourt, that's a problem you would have loved to have had last February.
Yeah, or last January.
And
Yeah.
March, and
Yeah.
Was it I guess a conscious effort to bring in two guards through the transfer portal?
Very much.
Yeah.
Yeah, we felt like given the portal gives you such an opportunity to fill important gaps, right? We knew we needed, we knew what we needed, and those are the two we went after. I think there's always media who says they're going after so and so and so and so. It's like, I don't know, those are the two we wanted, right? And we got them, and we made sure that we were their only visit and made that happen. And they have been even better than advertised. Those two kids are really good basketball players and even better teammates. And so it's not that playing time has to be determined. It's that it's going to be by committee, which is a better team anyway, right? I know the year we went to the Sweet 16, we had the same starting lineup every year. That was the makeup of that team, and we stayed healthy, right? But this team is going to do it by committee. And that's not because we have not a dominant player, it's that we have a lot of good players, right? And so, I don't think they're that worried about it either. I think they recognize that I'm going to contribute, and when and how might be dependent upon who I'm with, it might be dependent upon who we play, it might be dependent on, is it 2-game week? There's so many things it can depend on now, which is fun.
When it comes to the shooting, I know last year, sometimes it might have been a thing of the shooting practice didn't quite translate, to
No,
games.
we wouldn't have scored 80 points in an empty gym.
Yeah. Do you feel, I guess, at this point of the year, I guess, thinking back, the shooting, I guess, in practice is, probably more consistent, than it was?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, babe. I mean, literally, we joke, but when we played Michigan State and they averaged almost 90 points a game, the guys that were doing the scout came in and said, all right, so they average 90 points a game. And I said, and if they score over 55, we don't beat them. I mean, we wouldn't score 90 points in an empty gym if you gave me a 50-minute game, right? But now we've got a lot of people that can score the ball, right? I mean, there's not one kid anymore that we brought in that can't shoot. I mean, Blanca's shooting, she shoots threes. I mean, we all can. So it's not that it's not that last year there was a mental psyche, or it was that they actually didn't have the skill set to do that, right? And so the ones that were, because of all the injuries, right? And so now we just have more options there.
You talked about the three.
Time for about 1 to 2 more questions.
Talked about the 3-pointers. Layla also said she can make the 3-pointer.
Oh, for sure.
Have you ever had this many 3-point threats? Will you go 4 out, 5 out, and just how is that going to affect what you can do offensively?
A lot. I mean, now it gives you 1v1 in the post, or it gives you openings. It opens up the lane. You're playing against closeouts now instead of against set defenses. There's a lot of things it lets you do. And have I had more shooters? And when I was in the Ivy League, that's what people can do, right? I don't know if I had so many two-way players that could shoot and defend at the level we have, now. But the basketball game still comes down to toughness. You still got to be able to defend with toughness. You got to make big decisions in live time with toughness. And so, they know they can shoot. I know they can shoot, and it's fun to talk about. But they also, I like where they're at with their toughness. Which also
And
matters.
last question.
Coach.
I've got time because we don't have the kids until they come back from film.
Coach, can you talk about Lainey
Unless I don't.
and your decision?
Okay.
Your decision to bring her in early.
Who?
And kind of Lainey Grant.
Yeah.
Your decision to bring her in early and what she's added to this roster.
Yeah, for Lainey, what was funny was I went right after the ACC tournament game. She played in the state championship the next day, so I drove up there to see that. And I literally texted her mom and said, your kid could help us right now. That's all I said. And then within 48 hours, the decision had been made that she was coming, right? And so, an example is sort of like what we were talking about before. For her, it made sense, right? She felt like in She felt like she was ready for the next challenge, and if that meant that she wasn't quite as ready to help us in year one as maybe she would have been had she had one more year of high school, she felt like that one more year of high school wouldn't have gotten her more ready. And the kid, I'm telling you, the kid, all she cares about is competing, and so she knew this would be a place where she could really compete. And you know, we were talking about making sure all of our kids are voting. She's not even old enough to vote, so she can't vote until April of this coming year. So she is very young, and you won't be able to tell. She's tough as they come, and incredibly confident. And for young guys to contribute, they have to have a maturity that doesn't get spoken about enough. And maturity, what I mean by that is that one bad play, one bad possession, one bad day, does that force you to come in and say, oh, or does it force you to say, what's next? She's able to just go to what's next so easily and seamlessly. She's just an old soul. I mean, I can't believe, she should have come 2 years ago with how, she's more mature than I am, actually. Probably
Great.
good.
Great. Thank you, everyone.
Yeah, thanks, guys.
Thanks, Courtney.
Of course.